Dub Nation, the beat changed tonight. Not because of drama, but because every possession suddenly mattered like it was May, and that's when you find out who you are. I'm bringing you inside the room with a clean plan. What really shifted during the game in Milwaukee, how the staff evaluated the danger moment and adjusted on the fly, why this roster has the tools to absorb shock without losing identity, what the schedule and odds are quietly telling us, and how all of this shapes the next 2 weeks in a West that punishes any team that blinks. I'm not here to sell fear, I'm here to sell clarity and belief, because the energy around this group feels like 2021-22 in the ways that matter. Professional habits, lineup versatility, veterans who understand role, young legs who tilt the floor. So stick with me from first frame to final whistle, because the update you came for will land when the context is ready and the picture is complete. Start with the vibe check in Milwaukee, a 120-110 result that reads like a warning label rather than a verdict. A reminder that this league is ruthless when you take a night for granted, even against a team missing its superstar. Steve Kerr's message post-game was as honest as you'll ever hear from a championship coach. When opponents sit a star, focus can slip, preparation can slide, and the Warriors have felt that sting too often, which is why you heard him joke, half laugh, half frustration, that if he were on the other bench, he might sit the marquee guy every time. Because everyone in this league can hoop and rhythm is a weapon. Those are the kinds of lines that burn into a veteran locker room, and they tend to age well when the film session turns into problem-solving. Zoom out and the macro still looks good. The Warriors opened strong, the record is healthy, and the market has moved from preseason skepticism to live respect with title odds tightening toward the 1,500 band. That's not confetti. That's a thermometer. We're in the fight, and the league sees it. Now, the basketball that matters. This roster was built to have answers, not excuses. Al Horford arrived to steady the five with screening angles and backline communication. Buddy Hield gives gravity that warps weak side tags. Jonathan Kuminga is the runway lane that finishes plays other teams can't. Brandon Podziemski is the connective tissue who turns broken possessions into layups without needing touches called for him. Moses Moody brings clean 3-and-D minutes, Gary Payton II puts teeth in any coverage, and DeAnthony Melton, when cleared fully, slides in like a Swiss Army knife. Put that around Stephen Curry's orchestration, and you have menu depth. 5-out delays with Curry into handoff rehand slip patterns. Spain pick and roll when you want an engineered three, early high horns to punish overplays, and the staple that ages as well as any set in basketball. The short roll quarterback who hits split cutters or corner shooters before the low man finishes his sentence. That last part is the soul of the dynasty brain, and it's the reason the room goes still when something threatens it, because the short roll brain is not a diagram. It's a heartbeat. So the staff prepared contingencies the moment camp broke. If the heartbeat misses a beat, you survive with principle, spacing, and defense, not with panic. That's why you've seen them test the Horford at 5 shell with Kuminga flying in from the weak side dunker. Why they've run more 2-guard fronts with Podziemski to ease initiator load. Why Hield and Moody have rotated through corner stampede actions to keep the second side alive. None of that is a gimmick. It's the grown-up version of next man up, a plan that respects what wins in April. Keep that stored, because in a season of 82, you don't prepare for sunshine, you prepare for weather. One more layer before we push the button. The opponent tonight had no Giannis and still leaned on shot-making and pace, and the Warriors lost pockets of the game with turnovers, contested twos, and a few slow closeouts. Those are fixable within 48 hours, and the staff knows it. The bigger picture is a team that understands how to organize on bad nights. Move the launch point for Curry so he doesn't carry load against set shells, and get back to their defensive personality, talking early, tagging on the flight, finishing possessions on the glass. None of this is cosmetic, because what's coming up on the calendar are road games that reward lineups who defend without fouling and execute blob slob with the calm of a team that's been there. And if you want the temperature of the room, it's this. Calm, accountable, hungry. Nights like this don't crack good teams, they harden them. Here's the moment you're here for. Delivered with precision. Mid-game, a Curry cross-court laser caught Draymond Green on the side of the head. He looked woozy for a beat, asked out, and headed to the locker room. That scene jolts any fan base, and it should, because nobody means more to how we think the game than Draymond. Now the immediate verified relief. He returned to the bench, returned to action, and finished the night. No dramatic post-game commentary, no panic, just a scary flash that resolved the way you want in real time. That's the update. And now the real analysis. What does it change? Tonight, this week, and if a precautionary day pops up? Tonight, it changed nothing structural because the staff trusted their work. This week, you'll see layers of sensible management. More early Horford minutes to set the defensive shell. Kuminga toggling between 4 and small ball 5 in second units. Podziemski taking a few extra initiator touches so Steph can be a finisher in a couple of key stretches. And Moody Hield toggling corner spacing so you never give a scout the same weak side picture twice. If a precautionary day appears on the report, the identity stays intact by design. Switch more cleanly with GP2 at the point of attack. Lean into Horns, delay to get the ball to the nail without over-dribble. And use Horford as the release valve on the short roll with the exact same reads. Corner if the low man stunts late. Split if the tag comes early. Lob if the weak side high foot is pointed the wrong way. On defense, the coverage doesn't reinvent itself. It sharpens. Nail help on time. Peel switch on deep paint touches. 2 on the ball against the one guard who's cooking. And glass by committee. The staff will carry a small zone pocket, 2-3 with the top high, just to steal a possession or two when needed. That's how you win nights when rhythm wobbles. None of this minimizes the core truth. Draymond is the geometry of the Warriors. He sets the angles, he hears the patterns, he calls the traps half a pass early. That's why the news that he returned matters as much as any 3 in October. It means the drum beat continues, the heartbeat is still in time, and the plan can keep climbing rather than detouring. The next opponent is a track meet risk if you play sloppy. The travel is real, and the league does not slow down for anyone. But that's exactly why this roster was built the way it was. Adults who know the assignment and kids who love homework. The external market agrees, and that shift in odds isn't a trophy, it's a mirror. You're dangerous when you handle the boring details, so I'm planting a flag right here. This incident will end up as one of those early season snapshots that sharpen focus. Get the practice crisp, and remind everyone of the non-negotiables. Talk, tag, share, cut with purpose, rebound like it's a Game 7. If you roll with me on Warriors News Fan Report, you know I don't play the panic game in October, and I don't play the parade game either. I measure how the staff solves, how the leaders respond, and how the rotation breathes. By that metric, we are fine tonight, and we can be better by Saturday. Tell me in the comments where you'd lean for the next 2 games. More Horford to start halves, or more Kuminga closing at the 5 when opponents go small. More Podziemski on ball to save Steph's legs in second quarters or keep him as the off-ball surgeon while Melton ramps up. What's your closing 5 if the other team is heavy on drive and kick? Curry, Pods, Moody, Kuminga, Draymond, or do you slide Hield in for the gravity and trust the board by committee? I'm reading every take, and the best comments always end up shaping how we track film on the next show. My final read is clean and optimistic. Tonight brought a scare, then brought relief, and now brings accountability. Draymond took a shot, returned, and the chessboard stays set. The staff has the countermeasures to keep the house in order. The schedule offers a fast chance to correct. And the roster we've watched settle into itself is built for exactly this. Weather the pocket, win the details, stack the small edges that, by spring, turn into separation. If you felt your heart jump tonight, that's fandom doing its job. If you stayed until the end, that's why this community is different. Because we want the whole picture, not just the headline. Lock in with me for the week ahead. Like the video if you value measured truth. Subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report if you want every update the moment it breaks. Turn on alerts so your phone buzzes when the staff tweaks the rotation or the medical update posts. And drop your perspective on how you'd manage minutes over the next 7 days to keep the legs fresh and the spacing clean. We're in this together. And the best part is simple. Nothing about our ceiling changed tonight. The mission is alive, the room is aligned, and the heartbeat is back on the floor where it belongs. We flip the page and tighten the screws, because what happened in Milwaukee didn't just test nerves, it sharpened purpose. Tonight I'm walking you through how the Warriors will build a week that travels. The exact on-court tweaks that protect our identity if precaution becomes part of the plan. The rotation pressure points that become advantages when you coach them with intent. And the kind of mentality that turns a one-night scare into a 7-day accelerator for a contender. The staff's first lever is pace with control. Not pace for show. Get the ball advanced early with Podziemski as the secondary initiator. Flatten the defense with corner runners, Hield or Moody, and let Curry work from a moving runway rather than fighting a set shell off the bounce. You'll feel the difference on possession 2 or 3 when we enter Horn's delay, hit Horford at the nail, and slice the weak side with a split cut. If the tag arrives early, the corner opens. If it arrives late, the pocket floater is there. And when the opponent tries to switch the handoff, Curry rejects and the layup line appears. That's not theory, that's reps. And it's the same language that carried this core past storms you and I still remember. The second lever is short roll by committee. Because the genius of the Draymond as quarterback action is less about the name and more about the read, Horford brings the veteran footwork to live in that pocket. Kuminga brings vertical gravity that punishes a low man who blinks. And even Podziemski can flash to that nail as a relief valve on emergency possessions. The coaching point is identical. Eyes corner first, split second, lob third, and don't let the ball stick. When that rule is obeyed, you get the same architecture of advantage we've loved for a decade, just built with different materials for a night or two. The third lever is the second side life we lost in pockets against the Bucks. Kerr's groups were at their best when the weak side never went quiet. So expect more stampede catches for Hield, foot on the gas the moment the swing arrives. More 45 cuts from Moody when his man ball watches. And a steady diet of dunker spot flashes from Kuminga to keep shot blockers honest. The intent is to make every help rotation pay rent. Defense? That's where the identity reasserts itself fastest, because paying attention solves 70% of the problem. Top lock shooters who got hot, call peel switches on deep paint touches, load up early on the one ball handler who feels it, and finish plays with gang rebounding. You'll see GP2 own the first screen of a possession so the low man can stay attached. You'll see Horford tag then recover without fouling. And you'll see a small zone pocket, 2-3 with a lifted top, steal a couple of possessions when the game needs a change of air. Those are the habits that make a film room feel like a classroom again. Now let's talk people, because names matter in a locker room that polices itself. Curry's load can come down by inches without coming down in impact if we buy him breaths as a finisher rather than a pure engine for a few stretches. 2 straight actions where he's the receiver. Not the passer can buy legs for the last 6 minutes. Kuminga's next step is reading the early crowd. If the help sits on the block, it's a kick. If the help stays home, it's a 2-foot power finish. Moody's needle moves when he shoots decisively inside the window, early, clean, balanced, instead of hunting an extra dribble. Hield's gravity works before he ever touches the ball. Joggers don't defend shooters, sprinters do, so sprint to the corner and make the tag late by design. Podziemski? He'll keep being the connective tissue that raises the floor of every lineup he touches, turning loose balls into layups and missed coverages into cut-and-finish therapy. And don't sleep on Melton's ramp. His capacity to guard up a position, screen small for Curry, and hit the slot 3 is exactly the quiet math that flips a road trip. What about the heartbeat himself? The medical staff will control the cadence, and the coaches will follow it to the letter. That means no hero timeline, no public brinksmanship, just adult decisions that put May above October. If there's a day of precaution, the machine runs because we built it to run. Horford stabilizes the back line. Kuminga's energy becomes a feature, not a bailout. GP2 and Pods raise the defensive volume, and we weaponize predictability. You know what's coming? You still can't stop it. By leaning into set after set that reproduce the same strain on the same rotations. This is also where leadership becomes a system. Draymond's voice doesn't require minutes to carry. It requires a standard to echo, and that's what this room has in abundance. The schedule is honest with you in this league, and the next 10 days demand the kind of execution that ages well. clean ATOs, purposeful blob slob, no free runs in transition, and a glass war we embrace rather than endure. Watch for the small tells, early talk on cross matches so no one gets stuck on an island, hands high on the first catch to scare shooters off rhythm, and a renewed obsession with the 2-for-1 end-of-quarter math. Championship teams win the boring minutes, and this group knows it. Zoom out to the west and the board is encouraging if you respect it. Denver still Denver, OKC deep, Houston loud, but all of them beatable when you drag them into your tempo and your reads. That's why odds move when the Warriors act like the Warriors, and that's the behavior I expect to see by the weekend. A team that admits the sloppy pockets, cleans them with a veteran's attention to detail, and then lets shooting, cutting, and defense stack the oxygen back up. I'll give you one film room image I can't get out of my head. Curry brings it up left, waves Horford into delay, pitches and relocates while Hield sprints to the corner. Podziemski sets the guard-to-guard screen on the far slot. Kuminga ghosts a flare and dives. The low man takes a half-step toward the dive, and boom, the corner is cash. Next trip, same shell, different tag. Pod slips to the nail, receives, one-hand dart to Kuminga for the dunk. Third trip, the defense cheats the pass. Curry keeps and gets 2 free throws. 3 possessions, 3 reads, 1 message. You don't get to script how we score, we do. That's the Warriors' brain humming, and it doesn't disappear because a night gets weird. On the culture side, there's something I want to underline because fans feel it even when we don't say it. This locker room is adult. Roles are accepted, minutes are earned, and accountability flows sideways as much as it flows down. That's why a scare like tonight turns into maintenance, not melodrama. Leaders lead, coaches coach, players play, and fans get a team that speaks with actions. For the road ahead, I expect rotations to start the halves with stability, Horford early to set the shell, Moody Hield to pin corners, pivot to Juice in the mid-quarters, Pods as organizer, GP2 to turn possessions into squabbles, and close with matchup honesty. If they go small, Kuminga at 5. If they stay big, Horford's brain wins. Defensively, the closing 5 hinges on who's hurting you. If it's guards on pull-ups, load guard defenders. If it's wings on drives, fill the floor with length and rebounders. And always, always finish the defensive stand with 5 bodies to the glass. Now, I want your voice in here, because this channel is at its best when Dub Nation tunes the dials with me. Which lineup would you trust in the last 4 minutes against a 5-out opponent? Curry, Podziemski, Moody, Kuminga, Green, or do you swap Moody for Hield and dare them to help off a career shooter? How many Horford minutes do you want against a rim runner versus a pop big? Where do you stash GP2 to cause the most chaos? Point of attack on their initiator or lurking on their weakest ball handler to spring ambush doubles? You tell me below and we'll bring those ideas into the next breakdown, because the smartest fan base in basketball finds edges that even coaches adopt. I'll leave you with a calm, professional verdict that carries a fan's heart. The headline teased a scare, the reality delivered relief, and the takeaway is discipline. Draymond took a shot, returned, and the group corrected course. The Warriors of this season aren't chasing a past. They're building a present that honors it by making the next read, the next rotation, the next box out. That's how you turn October flinches into April confidence. If you've watched this long, you already know. We don't do panic or parade here. We do process and proof, and the proof is a room that just got a little tighter and a little hungrier. Ride with me through the week like the video so the algorithm doesn't bench us. Subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report so your phone lights up the second the staff tweaks a coverage or a minute pattern. And turn on notifications so you hear it first, not third hand. Drop your closing 5, your minute map for the bigs, and your favorite Curry off-ball action we should spam on the next back-to-back. The mission didn't change. The ceiling didn't lower. And the heartbeat we all hold our breath for is back where it belongs. Setting angles, calling traps, and reminding the league that Golden State's best wins start as quiet decisions on quiet days. And today was one of those days.